The Little Painter Who Silenced the Stars. Have you ever heard that every star has its own song? That when you look up at the night sky, you are actually listening to the universe's greatest symphony? But what if, one day, that song began to fade into silence? First the brightest star, then a whole constellation. Little Kael loved the stars more than anyone, but there was something he didn't know. Every single stroke of his brush was erasing a note from the sky. This is the tale of how one child's love, without realizing it, silenced an entire universe, and of his unforgettable journey to bring the music back. If you are ready, let's follow Kael in search of the lost song of the stars. In a valley so far away that the city lights could not reach it, where the sky was a cloak of inky black and the stars sparkled like diamonds, there lived a little boy named Kael. Kael's greatest passion was to watch the stars and paint their pictures. At night, when everyone else had drifted off to sleep, he would sit at his bedroom window and gaze at the sky for hours. Everyone in the valley knew that these stars were not just balls of light. Every single star and every constellation had its own song, a melody that could only be heard by those who listened with their hearts. This celestial music brought peace to the valley, helped the crops grow better, and gifted the people with beautiful dreams. While painting, Kael felt this music more deeply than anyone. Every time his brush touched the canvas, it was as if he were mixing the song of the stars into his paints. His biggest dream was to one day be able to capture this heavenly music perfectly in his paintings. One day, while looking through an old chest left by his grandfather, he found a box he had never seen before. When he opened it, his eyes sparkled with wonder. Inside was a set of paints that shimmered like the night itself, with tiny starlit flecks within them, and a single paintbrush that seemed to be made from a moonbeam. This could only be a magical paint set. That night, Kael sat before his window with immense excitement. He chose the brightest star in the sky, the shepherd's star. He dipped his magical brush into the shimmering paints and made the first stroke on his canvas. In that moment, something incredible happened. From the tip of the brush flowed not just colors, but the sweet, peaceful melody of the shepherd's star itself. As the paint took the shape of the star on the canvas, Kael began to hear the star's song clearly inside his room. When the painting was finished, the object before him was much more than a picture. It was almost alive, humming to itself, a piece of the shepherd's star's very soul. The next night, the people in the valley noticed something strange. The shepherd's star was as bright as ever in the sky, but its song could not be heard. There was an odd emptiness in the celestial symphony, as if an instrument had fallen silent. No one could understand why. Kael, however, was smiling as he looked at the humming paintings in his room. Unaware of how his actions had affected the sky, he was enjoying his success. The following night, he attempted something even bolder. This time, he painted the entire constellation of the Great Bear. As his brush danced across the canvas, his room filled with the deep, rumbling, and wise song of those 7 stars. His painting was like a celestial choir. But the next night, the silence in the sky had grown even larger. Now, the Great Bear constellation was no longer singing either. The peaceful melody over the valley was beginning to give way to an unsettling quiet. The nocturnal animals were restless. The night flowers were not opening their petals fully. The valley was losing its balance. Even Kael began to notice the silence in the sky, but he was so mesmerized by his wonderfully singing paintings that it never crossed his mind he could be the cause. The following night, as Kael was preparing to paint one of his favorite constellations, Orion, a gentle silvery light filled his room. It was none other than the light of the moon. A soft and wise voice, like the whisper of the wind, echoed in Kael's mind. "Little painter," said the voice of the moon, "your art is so beautiful, your love for the stars so deep, that you have managed to capture their very essence. But when you capture a soul, you take it from the place where it belongs. By trapping their song on your canvas for yourself, you are stealing it from the entire world." The moon gently explained the truth. The song of the stars was not just for listening. That song gave life to the soil, brought peace to the night, and accompanied all living things in their dreams. Everyone and everything needed that melody. Kael was stunned by what he heard. In horror, he looked at his glowing, humming paintings in his room, and then up at the beautiful but eerily silent sky. In that moment, he understood. For his own art, for his own love, he had been unknowingly stealing the world's music. He had created a private concert in his room, but the price had been to silence the symphony of the universe. His heart filled with a profound regret. He knew what he had to do. Even though it was very hard for him, he had to do the right thing. He took his singing paintings one by one in his arms and went out into the darkness of the night. First, he held up the painting of the shepherd star toward the real star in the sky. As a tear rolled down his cheek, he blew gently across the surface of the canvas. The magical paint dissolved into shimmering stardust, lifted into the air, and rose towards the sky. The moment the dust reached the star, that familiar, sweet melody once again echoed across the heavens. The shepherd star was singing again. Kael did this for every single one of his paintings. The rumbling song of the great bear, the brave melody of Orion, as each one returned to its star, the sky was once again filled with that magnificent symphony. A deep sense of peace washed over the valley. Kael's magical paintings were gone from his room, but he felt the immense joy of having returned the music to the world instead of silencing it. He put the magical paint set back in the chest and locked it. He now understood that a true artist is not one who keeps beauty for himself, but one who shares it with everyone. From that day on, Kael stopped painting the stars, but he never stopped being inspired by them. Instead, he began to make instruments, tiny flutes from bamboo that imitated the stars' music, wind chimes that tinkled like starlight in the breeze, and instruments that filled the quiet of the night with notes. He also taught the other children in the valley not just to watch the sky, but to listen to it and to accompany the song of the stars with their own instruments. Kael was no longer a painter who dropped the stars on a canvas, but a musician who amplified their music on earth. For he had learned that the greatest art is not in possessing beauty, but in sharing it.